Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I am your host. And joining me this week is one of my go-to podcast compadres, Mr. Levi Fletcher. Levi, thank you so much for joining us, my friend.
Hi.
There you go. Perfect. I didn't ask you how you were doing this time, so I didn't put you on the spot. So you're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, look at this is a witty banter you excited to listen to, huh? Thank you all for tuning in once again. As you can probably tell by my shirt, we're going to be talking a little bit about Spider-Man later today, even though this is a Venom shirt. But if you're new to the channel and new to the show, we like to talk about movies, games, TV shows, theme parks, music, other stuff. Like the other week, we talked about like Korn and Slipknot for a long time. Like that's just kind of what happened. But that's it happens on the show sometimes.
On tangents.
Get off on tangents. But I want to jump straight into this. We only have a little bit of news I want to cover this week, but something I thought that was interesting. Trailer dropped today, I believe, called The King's Man. So a prequel to Kingsman, the Secret Service and Golden Circle and all that stuff. Now, Levi, you saw this trailer and you've seen the other two films. How do you feel about like Kingsman in general?
What's his name? Taron Egerton, British last name. I've enjoyed the Kingsman film so far. I liked the first one a lot better than the second one. Second one felt like the plot didn't have a lot consistency, kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I'm ready for a prequel. It's cool. I'd like to see how it all starts.
I feel like this one has a way more serious tone than like any of the other ones do.
I really got that vibe too. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it was World War I or II. I'm really bad with this. I thought it was one, but it could have been two that this started. I think it was one, though, judging by like the cars and stuff.
Well, it's going to have to be something with the British.
Yeah, I think it's one. I'm pretty sure it's one. Either way, I was just kind of surprised because I looked at it, and Matthew Vaughn, I think, is directing it as well, the one who's done the previous two. And I thought for sure he'd still kind of make it more like tongue-in-cheeky like the other ones were. But this one seems like, at least from just this trailer, which might not be a good representation of it, it just seemed like really like kind of hardcore. And like there's a little bit of fun, but it's mostly like this is war and it's not fun, but there might be some kind of cool things in it. I don't know. Also, it's gotta be World War II because Harry's in it. I think Harry is a youngster, so like he can't be that old, right? Right.
Well, Kingsman worked a lot because of the humor, so I don't know if the absence of the wittiness will hinder it or.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I felt like 2 kind of went insane with like their jokes and stuff. Like they got like Channing Tatum dancing around a bunch and then falling over, and it's like But anyway, yeah, I was curious to know if like do you plan on seeing this one in theaters?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
I saw the other 2 in theaters.
Yeah, I remember seeing 2 in theaters, and I was sitting next to 2 people that just like ruined it for me. But also that movie was like pretty bad. Like there's some stuff in there that I was just like, oh my god.
Did we see the first one together and not the second one, or did we not see either of them together?
I don't know if we saw either. I know that I saw the second one with my sister and brother-in-law because like we never go to movies together, and I was like, all right, we're gonna go see this. But yeah, it was not great. The first one's not bad though. I like the first one.
Yeah, first one's good. I like that.
Yeah, first one's good. But yeah, so hypometer though for The King's Man, which is just so confusing. It's like
give it like a 6.5.
Yeah, I feel like that. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm interested to see it with the new serious tone, but I need to see more trailers because maybe it'll just go completely jokey and crazy and whatever else. All right, that's all the news I really wanted to cover. I know there's other stuff this week. One other thing I did want to touch on really, 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 really briefly. Sounds like Lashana Lynch, I might be saying that wrong, who is better well known as Carol Danvers' best friend right now from Captain Marvel, will be picking up the moniker of 007 in the next James Bond film. This does not mean that she is the new James Bond necessarily. It just sounds like she'll be picking up that title when James Bond leaves MI6 if he goes rogue or does whatever else James Bond does. Obviously lighting the internet on fire, but it's just like, she was one of my favorite parts of that movie, and I honestly don't care. And I didn't know that she was British because all the British people can do an American accent perfectly, but there's only so few of us who can do a perfect British accent, such as myself. But I won't do it here.
She brought like a really good anchor to the Captain Marvel, so I really appreciated her in those films.
Yeah, well, she's just the only like in the only film. I mean, she's just like she's the emotional, like all the emotional stuff was like her, honestly. But yeah, I really like her, and I'm excited to ever have a chance to kind of be 007. I don't know if that means that after this next Bond that Daniel Craig does, if they'll just be like, all right, she's the new 007. She's not James Bond. She's not Jane Bond. She's just 007. Just the name, you know, which...
So do you think she'll be out of the MCU then if she's not?
Oh no, she could do both. Plus
she'd be old though.
She'd be old if she were in...
What is it, 15 years? How many years between?
No, it was in the 90s, so it'd be like 20. Yeah.
Yeah, well, isn't it like 2047 though? What's the actual time of...
Like an age or up. So like Endgame was in 20... No, they jumped forward. Oh God, what was it? Is it
2025?
Like 20... It's 20 or 2022 or something like that.
Okay.
Either way, it doesn't matter about that because they can age her up. But I think she could do both at the same time. Plus, if she gets to kind of be like the face of her own like series, yeah, totally do it. I'm excited for that. I'm like, hey, cool. Do you have any thoughts or feelings on that at all? Do you care?
I've never been a big James Bond fan, so
yeah. Neither have I. Except for Pierce Brosnan. I know they're cheesy and corny, but I love them.
Daniel Craig is cool. I really liked him in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but I don't really follow him too closely.
Oh, really? You liked that movie, huh?
I did, yeah.
I honestly never saw it.
With Rooney Mara? Yeah.
I kept seeing the trailers for that more recent one where she like sneaks into that guy's house and like like basically nooses him and like gives that money, all the money. Yeah, I'm like, that's pretty cool. All right. Anyway, Levi, let's move right into the meat of the show. We're talking about Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, everybody listening, don't worry. We're not going to spoil anything just yet because I'll flip the old spoiler switch over here and I will let you know. You will hear the noises and stuff. I hope I put it in because I don't think I did last time, but I'm going to flip it this time. Anyway, we're going to talk just kind of general impressions for people who haven't seen it yet and have seen the trailers. We can kind of go off of that, but we'll just kind of go over how we feel. Levi, can you give us like a brief spoiler-free plot synopsis of this film? And you don't have to go in depth.
Yeah, so the only way to talk about this movie without flipping the spoiler switch right away, Peter goes on vacation, wants to leave his Spider-Man woes behind, and finds out quickly that not only he's not going to be just a neighborhood Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Yeah,
dude, that's great. Spider-Man woes behind. I love it. That's so good. Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, he just wants to go on a vacation with his buddies, man. And
Tony Stark is dead, and the world is really no. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you haven't seen the trailers of it, go watch Endgame. I think everyone's seen Endgame by this point. If you haven't, then I'm so sorry, but I'm not sorry. And I would almost say Endgame is required viewing for this movie. Like they kind of do something in the beginning to kind of catch you up, but if you didn't see Endgame, you might be pretty confused as to like what happened. You'd be like, what? Like something really bad happened and some superheroes aren't around anymore. You'd be like, but overall though, feelings towards the movie, how do you feel about this one?
I didn't quite actually care for it. Jumped around a lot, but the set pieces to me weren't that interesting.
Oh, really? Okay. So you didn't enjoy the action as much?
I mean, it was fine. It was, like, I don't know. We talked about this before. For some reason, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films have always made web slinging feel really good. And, like,
sure.
Peter's movements on walls and, like, it all felt really good. For some reason, in MCU, it kind of, like, gives it too much of a candy coating. And it doesn't feel like there's too much impact to the web slinging.
I think I know what you're talking about now because like even his suit, some of them look like it's just too much CG where you're just kind of like, there's nothing. I clearly can tell there's nothing there. There's no tangibility.
It's not like it's not a horribly bad thing because these Spider-Man films are phenomenal. I will say that. I just don't quite gravitate to that's what I look for in a Spider-Man film is like his abilities, and we don't get a lot of that
sure
in films. And
yeah, not as much. I think it's because a lot of it's like the tech kind of gets in the way. Like in the older ones, you just kind of have like it was Spider-Man just vanilla, like he didn't really have any other cool abilities or powers. It was like, nope, this is what I have. This is it. Yeah, but do you still like Tom Holland is the question.
I love Tom Holland. He's great. He's charming. He brings a really, I mean, people love him because he's so charismatic and he brings like this, charming, boyish, turning mannish, you know, hormonal teenage Spider-Man to life.
Yeah, I think that's true too. I just like watching him interact with his friends, or just kind of the group he's with, because I think that core group of school friends is fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I like that they gave them a little more time in this movie to kind of flesh them out. Because for me, the most interesting thing about this movie, besides like ramifications going forward, is kind of his relationship with MJ and seeing how that kind of unfolds throughout this whole like European vacation, and kind of like Peter's idea and ideal plan versus like what actually happens. And he's like, I want this, but this stuff keeps happening and it's just so frustrating. And yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. Was there anything like specifically, without spoiling, that you like did not like in this one?
There wasn't anything besides the set pieces. Like, I'm just a big set piece fan, and I just feel like the locales were just not that interesting.
Oh, really? Okay.
And that's not like, a dig on the places we saw, like Prague, and like all the where were they were at, like the London.
Yeah, London Bridge, and you hate Venice, so
Yeah, like, I just wasn't a fan of like that. If I wanted to watch that, I would just watch Jersey Shore, Italy again.
Oh my gosh. Okay, is it better at least than like just New York City again? Because I feel like they've just done New York so much, and they're like, let's just get him out of New York.
Yeah, I just wish it was deeper. Like I wish it was like less, and this would sound crazy, but I almost wanted to see them take him out of his element. Really out of his element of like no high buildings to swing from. Like,
Okay.
Like in Homecoming when he's like trying to do that chase scene and he's like running through the field because he's got nothing to swing from.
Yeah.
I want to actually see more of that.
Oh, you want to see more of him just running and just like being like, crap, yeah, I can't swing.
Levi, that's stupid. He's Spider-Man. He's got to swing from stuff. But I'm like, you can do it. If anybody could do Marvel, and it would have added like a different kind of depth to him, I think.
So we should drop him in the desert and be like, good luck, Spider-Man.
Wild Man, Survival Man,
Survivor Man.
So no, what is
Man versus Wild? Spider-Man versus Wild.
Yeah, Spider-Man versus Wild is that.
Perfect. We got it. You're just like, no trees for you, Spider-Man. I feel like that, like John Wick and Aquaman both did deserts recently. Maybe they'll have him do a desert one day.
Dude,
I don't know.
Spider-Man's in the jungle. Like, he's got so much to work
with. But he could swing there, right? Like that'd
be fine. I mean, I'm not saying take away the swinging, but I'm saying whole different, like, just crazy different place,
Black Panther 2, regular cast, but also Spider-Man's there. Like, they just drop him in the jungle and they're like, good luck, in the black suit. And he's like, yeah, I'm basically like you. No, that would be, he's like, except it's not vibranium. And I don't have the Panther powers. Yeah. Okay, I get that. I liked it enough. I've seen Venice so many times on film. Like, it's nice to see Prague, London we've seen so many times too.
I'm just not a fan of those locales. Like, no offense.
Sure. Well, the last time we were in London with the MCU, I think, was Thor: The Dark World. I might be wrong on that, but like in a major way. So yeah, fun times,
right?
Huh?
Civil War was in Berlin.
Yeah, it's actually in Germany. It's in Leipzig, I think it was. Okay. And when they went, I think because they're kind of bopping all over Europe, and I was thinking they were going to make some sort of joke about being like, don't let Spider-Man go to Germany, like, or he would have like signs up being like, oh no, you can't go there. Except he was on the pro registration team. Anyway, neither here nor there. Let's talk briefly about the villain before we flip the old spoiler switch. Mysterio, feelings. How do you think? What do you think?
I'm a big fan of Jake Gyllenhaal, so he really brought this character to life that like I did not know he could, which was really exciting because I was really nervous about this villain. I almost had an Electro feel for this villain.
Oh,
and, just because like the trailer's like, you don't want any part of this, and I'm like, a bad line. But he really brought this character to life, and I enjoyed it.
So. Yeah, I think for me, I was really worried about it too. And the first half of the movie, I was like, and then something happens, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I was like,
it's for this movie.
It was much better, and I felt like the problem was, and this is not to spoil anything, but like Jake Gyllenhaal's a really good actor, and the stuff they had him doing in the beginning was kind of like, it seemed rather pedestrian, or rather just like you could have gotten anyone to do this role, but then
feel that way, yeah.
And then later on, when you see what he's like, the other stuff he gets to play with and work with, it's like, okay, now I see why you got him, because you're like, you see him doing this stuff and you're like, yep, that's much better. That's why you get somebody like that. It was just like after Michael Keaton set the bar so high for these villains kind of coming in for the new Spider-Man foes, I was like, they got to do something like really big and bold. And I'll be honest, I've always hated Mysterio just because of like my my hatred for him in Spider-Man 2, the video game, because he's in there, and I hate like illusionist villains or people with like do like these kind of smoke and mirror things, and that's just kind of like what he was known for in the past, and clearly you can see in the trailer here that's not necessarily who he is anymore, so they've kind of changed some stuff about him. So when they're like, Mysterio is going to be in this movie, I was like, okay, is he a good guy or a bad guy? And that's kind of like what you get to find out, obviously. But yeah, I'll just say that I like this character a lot in this movie for sure. I was like, I wasn't sure, but then I was like, okay, good. Especially like because I want Venom. Like obviously, besides like the Tom Hardy stuff, I'd like to see that integrated one day. But I want Green Goblin. Like I want Shocker. I want like a good Rhino, like stuff like that. And I was like, Mysterio, seriously? And then it's like, nope. They made it work because they do that. So kudos to them. Levi, any other things you want to say before we flip the old spoiler switch? Do you want to give us a score, perhaps?
No, go ahead and flip it because we got.
You don't want to give us
a score? I'd give it like a 9 out of 10.
I'll say, are you gonna say 9.8? Because you always like in the theaters, he always looks over and he's like 9.8. I'm like, what?
No, I'd give it a 9.
Okay. I give it like 8.5, but I think we both could recommend going to see it. Again, I think Endgame, you probably need to see Endgame before you see this movie.
What did you give Endgame? A 10 out of 10?
No, I gave Endgame, I think, a 9.5. I was talking about that with our friend Ian the other day. I have to watch Endgame again. I really liked it, but Infinity War is like consistently so good, but Endgame has like some amazing highs, but then some like incredibly bad lows. Yeah, there's just some stuff. Like, yeah, Endgame.
Bad things or like emotionally lows?
Bad things. Like, I wanted Hulk to get his day, and he didn't. And I did not like Smart Hulk at all. Like, and I know some of our other friends like hated the portrayal of Thor. And there's a few
that portrayal of Thor, but
yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I just the whole like him yelling to a kid about Fortnite. I'm sorry, Avengers spoilers. That whole bit, I was just like, this is going on for far too long.
They took some risks. Yeah.
Also, I wish they could have done some more intelligent, less pandering moments for some of their other superheroes, and I was just like, they just kind of. I will say this though.
I've seen the movie 3 times now, and I feel like it's epic. But...
Okay. Oh no, I'm not saying it's not epic. I'm not saying that. It's very, very good. It just has like Infinity War is just like I feel like it's just so consistent. There's like that movie's just cooking. Like stuff's happening. Endgame's like it's so sad.
Infinity War, you're like it's like now we're like seeing Cap. Like now we get to see Black Panther. It's like
yeah. That's all I'm trying to say.
That's
all I'm trying to say. Anyway, so we both recommend it, but I am gonna flip the spoiler switch. Let's do it.
It's in my eye.
Mysterio's a bad guy.
Who would have thunk it?
Who would have thunk it? I'm glad that I was worried that they weren't going to do that. I figured it was going to happen because we all kind of knew that he was.
I mean, to piggyback off your pedestrian feel, Marvel did a fantastic job wanting you to feel that way. Like you're like, this is a cookie cutter Marvel hero, and he feels good and he feels warm, and I like this. It's like, nope, pull the rug out.
Yeah, and I like that they kind of lead into the whole like, he's gonna kind of be an Iron Man replacement, and he's gonna kind of be a father figure to Peter. And unlike the last movie where it was like, okay, we've got Michael Keaton as Vulture, and then we also have Tony Stark as Iron Man on kind of the other sides, I should say, or Robert Downey Jr., you kind of have them like both vying for Peter's attention in different ways, but they never interact. Mysterio's like all in one, like as one person, because you're like, he starts off as like that Iron Man, and then he turns into like the Vulture. And it's so funny too that even dead, and with the whole Edith program, like even dead, I'm the hero, like the new AI that he gives to Peter, Tony does. Even dead, Iron Man's still making villains. Like he just like everybody's still out for Iron Man. Mm-hmm. And I love how they integrated the illusion technology for the drones from Civil War, because apparently when they were making Mysterio, they were like, how are we going to do all this? We'll do like drones and illusion and stuff. And like, hey, don't you remember we like back in Civil War, we had like this thing called BARF, and it was like this kind of thing that Tony was using as like a self-help like imagery tool for him. And I was like, oh my gosh. And like trying to integrate like Jake Gyllenhaal's character of Quentin Beck into that world that way. I was like, what a great like. Now I'll never watch Civil War the same way. I'll be like, I gotta watch Far From Home. Like
did you see that like Jake Gyllenhaal's actually like there at the airport? Somebody pointed it out on Twitter, and I was like, holy crap! He's wearing a hat, and he's like actually lurking and like following MJ and Peter around in the airport, and you don't notice him, but he's there. It's
oh,
crazy.
like when like in the movie?
Yeah, like so when they're like, so he knew that they were coming. Like he had like it just shows like how much Mysterio had planned for.
Oh sure, yeah. Oh yeah, no, totally. I think obviously it all started when, you know, back when he was burned, and now he just like planned this amazing plan, which, you know, is kind of insane when you think about it. Like he found out the information that like Tony was going to give this like super drone tech to Peter, and like he was like, all right, I will befriend him, and then hopefully he'll give it to me. Like, which I love you, Peter. I know you're supposed to be like young and dumb, but like some new dude you've just known for like a couple of days, and you're like, here's this stuff. Here's like this crazy like weapon system. You should use it because you're gonna be a better Iron Man than I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
It's like
So that coupled with him just being like, I just want to be with this girl, like gives him such a naivety that bothers me a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like he's been through enough now with the MCU that he doesn't still need to be this childish.
Yeah, well, it's weird too. It kind of flies in the face of what happened in Homecoming, where Ned would be like, "Hey, man, like we have class," and he's like, "Dude, there's stuff that's bigger than freaking high school. I'm not really. I'm basically an Avenger." And like now he's like saying like, "I don't want to do that." Like, and I guess maybe it's coming off of, you know, the fact that he did witness like Tony's, you know, glorious end, like, and he sees his face everywhere, and I love that because I thought it was just going to be a few things here or there. Tony's presence is felt throughout the entire movie. Like everywhere you go, there's like all these kind of like shrines to him, and he's just kind of like in the constant shadow of Iron Man, and it's kind of weird.
Like that about Homecoming, people were like, "No, it's an Iron Man film featuring Spider-Man," but this time around, no, it's Spider-Man cameos of Iron Man.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think we necessarily need Spider-Man to become Iron Man. I know it's a bit different, and I think I've heard other people talk about this, like the Weekly Planet. They do a great job talking about this. But some of the most interesting things about Peter Parker is that he's so relatable. But like, it's going to be harder and harder to make him relatable if he's like, I just inherited like billions of dollars in this whole company, and you know, like my problems are going to be different than like regular old-fashioned Spider-Man Peter Parker. Like he doesn't need to get a job at the Daily Bugle. Like he doesn't need to like make ends meet. He's like has this money and all this tech and stuff. So it's kind of like, are they going to keep going with that, or are they just going to try to like throw that away for the next movie? I don't know. Would you like to see it go one way or the other?
I feel like in this universe, he's not going to be working for the Daily Planet.
Daily Bugle.
The Daily Bugle, sorry. I definitely feel like the Daily Bugle is going to be probably the villain, one of the villains in the next one, like painting him out to be a really bad character, and he's going to have to fight.
Well, that's what he always kind of does. Remember, like the Sam Raimi ones, where it's like he kind of just works for him because he's like, well, screw it, I'm getting money. Like,
I don't think, the photography and stuff, that's not going to play a part in this, this series moving forward. I don't think.
Yeah, I wonder too, because they made it a little bit different, and it sounded like I just watched a video with the writers of this show. There, people were saying like, "Oh, did you like take the idea of making the Daily Bugle kind of like a podcast style show directly from Spider-Man PS4?" And they're like, "Actually, no, we had that in development for a long time, and then the game came out last like September, and it's like, oh crap!" Like, it's like we promised we didn't steal that. It was just it's a really good idea to like kind of, you know, make the Daily Bugle much more relatable than being like, that's just a newspaper. So yeah, which, oh, by the way, let's talk about that for a second. J. Jonah Jameson back briefly, J.K. Simmons reprising the role that so many people wanted to see. How did you feel about that?
Loved it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I just wish the hair was better. The hair wasn't right. He's just bald. I was like, ah, and then it also kind of like messes with my mind to think that like, not that he can't reprise the role, but that just made me think immediately of the Raimi trilogy. I was like, I wonder if they're going to use him a lot in the movies to come, or if this was just kind of like a glorified cameo where they're like, boom, you know?
Is the Daily Bugle part of any other film? like any other series?
Like, what do you mean?
I mean, like, does Tony Stark ever like, well, whoever is in New York, do they ever like hear shit
I
coming
don't
up
think
on the
they
Daily Bugle?
I don't think they brought it up in this one yet. The last time we saw Daily
Like,
Bugle
is Doctor
stuff.
Strange sitting on his couch and flipping through the channels and he sees
No,
it?
yeah. The last time I saw something that was like Amazing Spider-Man 2, like Peter sent an email and then it was like J. Jonah Jameson sent back, just said wrong, like in all caps. But that's the thing, is at the end of this movie, it kind of like blows open like one of the two big things about Peter. Peter's usually down on his luck with money, and then also he has a secret identity. Now, question is, was that an illusion that Peter saw that basically had like J. Jonah Jameson giving away and Quentin Beck like sending out that message to everyone saying that like Peter Parker is Spider-Man, Spider-Man is Peter Parker? Was that an illusion? Did that really happen? And if so, like what ramifications could that have? Or is it something that, like you talked about Doctor Strange, he could fix that in like 3 seconds? It could just be an illusion thing. It could just be in Peter's mind, because that's kind of like the big thing of this movie. Is like a lot of it's just like lies.
Knowing the MCU, they literally could open up Spider-Man 3 with Doctor Strange like, oh, turning it back, fixing it, and then like moving on. Like, I wouldn't put it past them.
Would you? What would you like though? Would you like one way or the other?
I don't want 3 to center around Peter being like
Stocked.
and a bad guy. No, I want it to be, well, that could work if they were going to introduce Venom, because then they could be like, oh, Eddie Brock is actually good, and Spider-Man's the dick, and it's like, I don't know.
How would that work exactly? So Spider-Man would be the bad guy?
Yeah, they'll paint Spider-Man to be the bad guy because he's like, oh, because Spider-Man ordered the hit on.
Oh, sure. That's the other theory I'd heard, is like now that people would know his identity, Kraven the Hunter would be the villain for the next one, because he wants to hunt Spider-Man, and he'd be like, oh, cool. I know who he is and like what he can do. And that was Kraven the Hunter. And I was wrong, by the way. So the bus driver, or the guy from S.H.I.E.L.D., actually, I think his name is like Dimitri. Mm-hmm. That might be like, I don't know if that's the name of the chameleon or somebody else. I thought he looked like Kraven, and I was like, oh, that could be like Kraven the Hunter. He's like playing with a gun earlier, and I was like, oh, it would have been so cool if like a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent turned bad. But it would kind of be weird at this point for him to be like, I want to hunt this kid I protected for a while. Like, you're like, yeah, I don't know. I think keeping like Spider-Man's secret identity is kind of cool. Like every other superhero, you kind of know who they are. Like, look at Black Widow. She like went in front of Congress and was like, I'm a spy and we shouldn't be keeping secrets anymore. And it's like, okay.
Do you think the one dude is going to be Kraven the Hunter? The guy that, oh no, he's dead.
Who's dead?
Sorry, never mind. The dude from Black Panther. I was like, is he going to be Kraven?
Oh no, my God. Claw? No, that would have been, they would have had like mix the characters. That would have been cool though too. I still want Kraven to fight like Black Panther. That'd be cool. Maybe they won't do Kraven. I just keep thinking, I keep hearing stuff about Kraven. I'm like, yeah, but I agree with you. I don't want it to be like a whole movie where it's just based on that. I would love so much in Doctor Strange too, like, because they've done that in the past where they team up because they're both in the same city. And I would just love so much for a Spidey cameo, or just them to work together for just like a few minutes, just like Ragnarok. And just like Doctor Strange is like, okay, like Peter, what did you do? And he'd be like, hey, Mr. Strange, like, I'm so sorry that I kind of screwed this up. And he's just like, it's all fixed. And he's like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I promise I won't do this ever again. Like, stuff like that. It would be so funny. And I think that chemistry would be so good, because you've got like this naive kid who's like, I just don't know what happened. And then you have Doctor Strange, who just is like kind of a new age Tony Stark with magic, who's just kind of like, I don't want to deal with these problems. Like, that's just a minor problem. So yeah. Yeah, I would like that. I would like to see them fix that with Doctor Strange. And that could be remedied like either in the next Spider-Man, could be remedied in Doctor Strange 2, I don't know. Which I think we will hear about that sequel a little bit more coming up here at San Diego Comic-Con for sure. Question for you though too. What did you think about the Mysterio like kind of trippy sequences?
Loved them.
Yeah.
That was what really sold this villain, is, on paper you're like, how are they going to make this work? And true MCU fashion, I don't even know why I asked the question anymore. Like, they can make any character work. They can make anything work,
Yeah, and I thought it was so well done, like how they did it. It felt so like kind of video game, like comic booky. Like he's just like that one part where like Peter's trapped in a snow globe of New York, and like Mysterio takes and picks it up, and it's like Mysterio's head like off his like Mysterio's body. Like it was just so trippy. I was like, like those drones were kind of like you could do anything with them. It kind of didn't make a lot of sense all the time, but I was like, oh, that's fun. And that moment where Peter launches that one to come and like attack the guy who's hitting on MJ in the bus would like shoot to space. There's this gigantic like satellite, and you're like, oh my god, like why did Tony give this to this kid? It's like, oh Tony, I love you, but man, you make some bold decisions. Oh, by the way, what did you think of the romance between Peter and MJ?
Well done.
Yeah.
It was well done. It wasn't too much. It was very tongue in cheek, like they always have been. So
yeah, I think it was weirdly the most realistic kind of. Like she's kind of, kind of gloomy sometimes, but I really like how like Peter just kind of fixated, and he was like, I'm gonna go buy her this special necklace, this Black Dahlia, and it gets broken, and she's like, I like it better this way. And then when they kind of come together, and she like figures out that he's Spider-Man, and then they kind of have like an awkward kiss at first at the end, and then they kind of like it's more than that, and they're just dating now. And she's like, yeah, I'm never swinging like through New York City with you ever again, which I don't blame her at all.
Well, I don't think that's an illusion. Why would you? Where did you hear that might be an illusion at the end there?
Oh, it's not an illusion. No, like that is all real. I think the very, very ending could be where it's like the TV screen was like just like projected to Peter, and like everyone around him was reacting to it. But those could be drones. Like that's the thing. Anything could be drones now for Peter. Like all that could be drones, which would be super trippy. I like that. Okay, it's a little weird how they trick him at the bar into giving the glasses to him. And then he kind of makes that big speech about like how everyone was wronged by Tony Stark. Dude was the guy that Jeff Bridges yelled at in the first Iron Man, like, and that guy has held like all this animosity towards Tony throughout the years, and is like, I'm gonna get you. What was the end game for Mysterio? I was thinking about this. So like they all wanted to be heard or like make the best superhero ever.
Yeah, he wanted to be the best superhero. He wanted the attention.
Okay, but like those like 20 other people, first off, you got to make sure they're all tight-lipped. Second off, like what do they get from this?
Well, the fame. They wanted the event, like Avengers.
But Mysterio gets the fame. They don't get the fame. They're just like behind the scenes. They just get to like press the buttons. And
I mean, that's every movie, Does the people that you see on the credits roll, do they get the fame?
I just don't know where
James Gunn gets the fame for directing.
I know, but like where are those people getting paid from then? Like how are they getting money? Like
I don't know.
How do they survive?
Maybe they think that like superheroes get a big budget from the city or something. I don't know.
I just don't know why they let Quentin Beck have all control over those drones, because then he starts threatening everybody. And I love that turn, like after the bar scene when he's like in the green screen outfit and he's got the bowl and stuff, and he's like full like movie director, big shot actor who's just like, hey, can we turn this up like 20%? Let's do this. And he's like, hey, you guys got to pay attention to me. And then he like turns the guns on people, and it's like, oh my gosh, we shouldn't have let him do this. But I like that whole bit. And like he doesn't have like a costume, but he does have a real costume. And like
when he yells and he's like, Spider-Man's blood is on your hands, like you feel that. It's like, ooh, it feels good.
That is Oh, and then he's like, I got to kill the kid. That's that when he turned finally into himself.
I didn't like that he kept saying like, oh, I got to kill the kid. Oh, now I got to kill you. Well, I guess I got to kill you myself. And I'm like, yeah, we get it. You're trying to kill him.
Yeah, and you're not doing a great job of it, man. But I like that he just wears, like, there's no real costume. And there's that person who's, like, trying to make the cape, look nice because he's probably going to meet the queen later or whatever. But a pretty cool thing. I like elementals are pretty neat. Again, the drones kind of are, like, almost like, not a Deus Ex Machina, but, like, this kind of, like, they can do anything you want them to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of trippy that way, but they're Stark tech, so I'm just like, whatever. But I liked that. I thought it was cool. I think it's funny. Like I like watching Pete early on. There's like the water elemental, and he just like shoots a web at it a little bit, and it does like nothing. I'm like, Peter, like, come on, dude. Like, what is that gonna do? Like, I love you though. But the look of all of them,
actually, he is a bright kid.
He's supposed to be. I don't know. Like he has his moments.
He's like, oh, quantum realm and blah blah blah. And it's like, whoa.
I do like later on we do get something on the London Bridge where he puts that stuff together and he makes like a bomb and a shield and he like uses it to propel himself up and get through all the drones. Like that fight with the drones is actually pretty cool for like what it was. There's almost like a moment where there's like a GoPro on one of the drones and you just like see it from its perspective for a while. I was like, that's pretty cool. I love.
I forget that he is actually a pretty nerdy kid.
He's pretty nerdy, but he's kind of dumb on some of that stuff. But again, his attention was split. He just wanted to hang out with MJ, and he was just frustrated that there's like that 25-year-old guy who's hitting on her who happened to be like a 16-year-old.
Yeah, I just think I think you're right. After Endgame, he's like, I'm kind of over this. I don't want to have this much. I want to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
He wants a break. He needs a break.
Burden, yeah.
What did you think?
Are you gonna be the next Avengers? Leader of the Avengers? He's like, I don't know, bye.
Yeah, he's like, nope. He's like, I'm not the main Avenger. I'm sorry. What did you think of Ned and Betty Brant?
I liked it. It was funny.
I think it was really. I think a lot of it was just like the whole when like Ned throughout the multiple phases of that relationship, be like, Peter,
I thought she was Gwen Stacy for some reason, so I'm glad she wasn't.
Oh, I'm glad she wasn't either. Yeah, but just the whole like, you'd be like, Peter, when I got on that plane, I was a boy and I met a young, nice woman, and now I'm a man. And it's just like this whole like he's just so hypocritical to Peter about being like, we're gonna be bachelors in Europe, and it's just like, oh, Ned. Yeah, not as much the friend in the chair this time, but still good. What did you think too of Nick Fury and Maria Hill?
Well, Maria Hill is Maria Hill.
She's just there. But I mean, like, what did you think about the kind of the plot twist of those characters, them being Skrulls the whole time?
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense why they act so differently than Maria, because Maria's a little bit more sleuthy and more spy-esque, and she wasn't really this time. She was more like just like a buddy to Nick Fury.
Yeah, she didn't really do much. I don't know. She never really does much.
Yeah,
she kind of does stuff. Like, I did feel like Fury was a little more boisterous than he normally was, and I wonder if that's like Talos just being like, all right, what would Nick Fury say to this kid?
I bet
he's kind of sassy.
Yeah. Who plays Talos?
That's Ben Mendelsohn, who's incredible. But then again, it's not. So it's Samuel Jackson playing Talos, playing Nick Fury, right? So it's like that layer of which, and they're probably just like, hey, you know what? Just pretend like you're Nick Fury and you don't really hold back swearing as much anymore, and you're kind of angry most of the time. Like, do that. Yeah, I thought he was fine. I thought it was a little weird because it did feel different. And then at the end, I was like, oh, thank you. I was like, he felt so weird to me. And I was like, that's the reason why. The real question is, how long has Talos been impersonating him?
Yeah, it could be since the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. That's the weird thing. I like to think that Nick Fury's setting up Sword in space. Maybe they're going after Galactus. Maybe they're going to find Silver Surfer, or whatever else. Maybe they're setting up Fantastic Four, it sounds like, from the Avengers building is actually getting changed at the very end. When Peter's kind of swinging through town at the end, he's on his phone for a second. Apparently there's some kind of stuff in there to hint that might be turned into the Baxter building eventually for the Fantastic Four. And I was like, oh, because he kind of does the wingsuit glide through that building. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Which, by the way, I love the idea of him having a wingsuit. Like, that is so cool to me. Just like him flying around and stuff. I'm like, oh, I love it. I'm like, yes, more wingsuit stuff. But yeah, what did you think of the suits in general, by the way? Did you like the red and black at the end?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the Night Monkey suit.
Not a fan of the Night Monkey suit, huh? Okay. Was it just too, like, kind of meh?
Yeah, and the suit before felt a little like, I don't know. It's weird.
Candy coating.
Yeah. I'm just a big fan of the Sam Raimi suits.
That one is so good.
It looks so good. But
yeah, I was going to say, I've got Spider-Man 2 right here.
Look more realistic, and
This is the best.
Yeah.
Like, look at those eyes. I don't understand how they work, and they don't look so good when he's, like, standing and talking to people. But that one, he looks just like a badass, in that suit.
I get it. It's supposed to look more realistic, but you lose a little bit of something when you try to do that.
I liked Night Monkey just because it was like, okay, pretend you're like an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. You don't have all the money in the world right now, but you have to make a suit for Spider-Man. And it's kind of like the best you can do. So he kind of has like the flip up goggles that he flips back down and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I kind of like that. And I like that like the whole joke is like, I'm not Spider-Man. And they're like, oh, you must be like the Night Monkey or something. It wasn't like the Spider Monkey. It was just the Night Monkey. It's like, oh, that's so funny. And I enjoyed Peter's relationship with Quentin and how that kind of changed over time and how an impressionable young kid might make a big mistake like that. But last thing too, it felt a little weird to me. I get it, but like Happy and Aunt May felt a little like
makes sense, to me.
Yeah, it's fine. It just felt like one of those like kind of creepy like things that Pete just kept like running into, and he's like, oh, like why are you guys talking to each other that way? Like,
yeah, I could see them getting together. Sure.
I like that at the kind of the end where Happy's gonna drop him off on the plane, and like right before he leaves, he's like, hey, Happy, right before I go, we have to sit down and have a serious talk about you dating my aunt or something like that. And then he just like leaves, and it's like, I'm trying to think like what else we could talk about for this though. I feel like we've kind of gone over the biggest points of it. I really enjoyed it. That was fun.
There's not a lot to this movie. There really isn't. There's not a ton of. And I think that was on purpose because there was so much. We've been hammered so much in the last couple of years with um, big movies, big ideas. Even Captain Marvel was a lot. You know.
Sure. Well, that Captain Marvel, I felt like was just the problem with that one is just kind of sandwiched between the two biggest films that MCU has ever done. And this one, I think they really wanted to bring it and make it real light and breezy and just be like, hey, we're going into the next phase here. Here's some ideas. Here's some fun stuff. But I don't know. I kind of like Spider-Man not being like end of the world type stuff. Like I really enjoy that. And I'm like,
yeah, it's not a bad thing. It didn't feel bloated at all, which was good. It's a chill Spider-Man movie coming off the end of Endgame. It felt right.
Yeah, I thought so too. And between that and Ant-Man, for some odd reason, like the kind of bug or creepy crawler type movies are just kind of like the fun, happy ones. It's just like lots of jokes. And I think the cuts in this one are so funny, like just kind of cutting back at the end to the lady who's like, steaming the cape for Mysterio. And she's like, are you still going to need that steam? He's like, yes, we're still going to need that steam. Like, like there's just like a lot of just like tension breaking little jokes in there that just make you laugh, and I really appreciate it. I think John Watts and everybody who's behind this movie just like they do such a solid, great job, and they don't overstay. Like I think if they would have kept him in New York with the high school, they would have done too many of the same jokes. Like they kind of had the beginning with the crappy like TV show that the kids put on for the news, but like they just had like one or two jokes from high school, and then they're like, all right, we're moving on to Europe and we're gonna do completely different things. I appreciate that. I like changing it up. They didn't have to, but they did. Yeah. By the way, I just want to let people know what they actually kind of did for this movie. Production budget 160 million, not a lot for these types of movies. Still, that's a ton of money, but right now, $847 million worldwide. So obviously a success. These movies do very good. And the nice thing about this one for these guys, they came out like on a Monday or Tuesday before July 4th. So it kind of had that whole time to be like, we're the only people in town. But this
movie is actually kind of putting me back into Avengers, and it's like really getting close to beating Avatar. It's gotten a spike again from Spider-Man.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen if they're going to try to like down the line re-release Avengers. Like that was the problem. I think they re-released it too quickly. Re-release Endgame in like a year, and then just be like, there you go. Because like at that time, people would be like, okay, like I could buy it or I could go see it again. Yeah. But I thought it was really good. I thought it was really solid. Like I said, 8.5. But like when I come out of these movies like this and Ant-Man, I always want to give them like a 9 because I just like laughed. I had a good time. And this is like just a fun superhero movie. Even though I feel like a lot of these times it's not just about Spider-Man. Like the Sam Raimi trilogy, it's like Spider-Man is the true focal point. But in these movies, they kind of split it up between him and the villains. And the villains are just so good that they kind of eat up. Not that the Raimi ones weren't, the Raimi ones are legendary, but like these ones feel like Spidey is not the main focus,
Which is why I'll give it a 9 because Gyllenhaal just killed it on this performance.
When he does that turn, man, and he just like fully embraces who he truly is, I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're so good, and he's just like ruthless.
It almost pisses me off that he's kind of a throwaway villain. I hope that he's not really dead.
Well, that's the thing is they were talking about that, and that's the question everybody has. They're like, because he's all about illusions. How did he die again? He got.
I actually don't understand that because
I remember it was like, the drones.
Yeah, because like I don't understand how that happened because like he's trying to shoot Peter, but Peter stops it.
So what happened was, if you remember correctly, he pretends that he's on the ground, like shot and hurt. And then he's actually standing right next to Peter and he's going to shoot him in the head. And then Peter like uses his Peter Tingle or the spider sense and he just grabs him and he's like, nope, that's not going to happen. And then I think the drones fire on that location and then he gets shot and it makes it look like he's dead. I think there's a really good chance that he's not, just because why would you burn that character, first of all? And second of all, if you introduce him, especially the way that he is in some capacity, even with just like 4 or 5 of those drones into the Sinister Six, that is such a devastating character where you're like, okay, imagine all of those problems you just have, but then like Scorpion's in there with you and Scorpion's real, like, and all of them are real, but like, but they're all not there. Like, they're just like, just messing with Spider-Man. Like, oh my gosh. Like once that sequence started, I was like, well, now I can't believe anything else in the movie. Cause like everything from that point on, like even they got me a few times. I was like, oh, they got him. Oh no, they didn't get him. Wait, did they get him? Like, it's like, yeah, which I thought was really good. And I like at the end, too, when they're setting up that final, like, he's like, it has to be like an Avengers-level threat. It has to be like a world-ending threat. And then they kind of like, it starts up in London, and he kind of waits for a bit, and he's like, okay, yep, no Avengers are coming. Okay, perfect. So like, it's one of those things where it's like, if that was truly Nick Fury, Nick probably would have been like, okay, we can't call any other Avengers. They're all busy right now. I guess we're using this guy, and he's our only hope. And that seems really dangerous. Like Nick Fury wouldn't do that. Like he wouldn't just be like, this is some dude from another universe or another parallel dimension. He's fine.
Crazy? Haven't gotten a Scorpion yet because it's such a big villain for Spider-Man.
Scorpion? Really? I mean, he's kind of big.
Like you see him and he's like, oh, I remember that from the old Spider-Man shows, you know?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, they teased him, and he's technically kind of in Homecoming. I think they're just trying to build up to do Sinister Six, which I really think is going to be the next movie. Like, I think that's what they've been building towards. The problem is you use like Scorpion, Mysterio, and who else at this point? Because Vulture kind of is a good guy now, but maybe not. I don't know. It's like it'd be hard.
It's gonna have to be like Shocker, Carnage.
Maybe
they'll allude to that in Venom. So Shocker, Carnage, and then it'll be Scorpio. They'll break him out of prison, and then it'll be Mysterio.
Maybe. I don't know. It's like, because usually it's like Rhino's in there, like Sandman's in there sometimes. Like it always changes, and I just want to see Sinister Six.
To have Green Goblin introduced in a film like that.
Yeah, I don't want. They'd probably do like a Hobgoblin or something. I was so hoping we'd get a tease at the end to Norman Osborn or Harry or something, or even Eddie Brock. Like I thought that I'd heard the rumors of like Tom Hardy like filming a scene with him, and I was like, oh my god, but that would have been so nuts. But
no, they're probably keeping that close to the chest because they know people want it so bad.
Well, that's because they tried to rush it out the door with Amazing Spider.
Yeah,
Sinister Six. Don't worry about it. Yeah, but. Anyway, I would love to see Mysterio back. I think he'd be great. I want to see Vulture back. I don't think they've made a bad villain for Spider-Man so far in these movies. Like, you know, they have a few lesser ones that don't do too much, but I really think those characters could be really fun to see again. And I'd love to see Keaton play off of Gyllenhaal, especially if they were on a supervillain team and they didn't agree on something. Oh my gosh. Like, I would love to see those two just like arguing with each other. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That would be wonderful. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything we need to talk about here, right? Is there any other closing thoughts you have on good old Spider-Man Far From Home?
No, I feel like we touched on all the bases. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, which go see it. And please leave us your review in the comments below. I think the hashtag this week will just be hashtag
Peter Tingle.
Hashtag Peter Tingle. Yes, send it in. Ryan, I know Ryan's going to do it. We'll see if anybody else does it on Twitter. We'll see. All right, Levi. It's time to move into that part of the show that we all like to call Time Killers. Yes, it's the time of the show where we talk about all the movies, games, TV shows, all the entertainment we've been consuming. Levi, what have you been killing time with?
Okay, just started Final Fantasy 12.
And?
Really, Final Fantasy 12. Fun game. Digging it so far. So
cool.
Feels pretty accessible so far.
It's got that MMO style that you probably are drawn to, where you hit it and you're just like, go attack, and they just go. And
I like that.
I like to hit the attack button, though. That's just me. Yeah. I like the tactile. But I've heard it's really good, so I might give it a shot, because I was trying it a little bit the other day. But if you're playing 12, I might jump into 9. Who knows?
Oh, it will swap, because I just beat 9, so.
Oh, did you buy it for anything?
I bought it on the Switch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. 9 is cool. It had a good ending.
Did you get on the digital, or did you get a cartridge?
Digital, yeah.
Ah, okay.
Rip Vivi. But
does he die?
He leaves behind like sons because his life expired. His
oh god!
Be like, spoiler, and I'm like, this game's been out.
The game's been out for so long. No, you have no choice. Yeah.
No, Vivi's lifespan runs out, so
okay.
He leaves behind some sons of his. Yeah.
I wanted when he trances. I wanted him to become a Black Waltz. Like I wanted him to be like a crazy, like creepy, like.
Man, trancing in that game got so shoehorned in. Like by the time you actually get to trance, you're fighting something stupid. You know. You don't really get to time them very well.
Yeah, because it just happens randomly.
Yeah, it's random.
That's weird, because that's what Dragon Quest 11 has too. It's called Pep Up, but it's the same. I just hate in those games where it's just like it happens. You're super strong right now, and you're like, why? And they're like, you are.
Yeah, that's like, what Anyway, playing that. So playing some Division 2 with you.
Nice. We haven't played really for a little bit though.
I played actually by myself last week and just did a bunch of like side stuff. It's easy to run around in that game and just shoot stuff. And
yeah, I'm going to do my best though to get you to. I still want to get back into Division and go do the raid and stuff, but I really want to get you back into Monster Hunter because I've been recently re-addicted to it. Leo and I killed Behemoth. We also went after the Ancient Leshen from Witcher, which was very difficult. And
yeah, I
we
tried soloing that. I could not do it.
just the regular Leshen or the
Yeah.
Ancient Leshen?
Regular Leshen, he like destroyed me.
Oh, it's Ancient Legend's even worse. But now we're going after the Arc-Tempered Elder Dragons and stuff, and we could use you. We really could. And we found out this amazing build. Leo's been using this friendship build where he's just like, he just drinks potions and just heals the entire team. It's like,
I wanted to dip into that. Remember, I was just like dipping my toes into it with the regular helmet stuff.
He said there was like a way you could do it with like one piece of armor and one other thing, and you could have exactly what you wanted. And I talked to him like, if we all got that, we'd be like unkillable. Like it was nuts because what would happen is I would take a hit from something, I'd be flying in the air, and I would have lost like a third or a half of my health. Before I hit the ground, I would be fully healed. He'd heal me that fast. I was like, maybe that was the point of this game the whole time. They're like, friendship is the strongest thing. Like it's like friendship is just so powerful. But man, I just had a blast that game. I started using the insect glaive, which I never did before. And I used the one built for the Behemoth stuff, which is the Gabolg from Final Fantasy 14. And learning how to use the glaive is so cool. And like flying around in that game is nuts because like I've played that game so much, but I've played it mostly grounded because that's just how you play the game.
But
a
lot of insect glaive, and I loved the mobility of it.
Well, I like watched this like 20-minute video about like how to do like the best damage and like, you know, kind of like picking out where the Kinsect needs to go on the monster and like finding out how to do all the buffs and like resetting the buffs and all this stuff. And just like, man, that's such a cool weapon. It's like complex, but it makes sense. Like you give it a little time, and like each weapon in that game is just like so and I'm just trying to get sharpened up because in less than 2 months Iceborne comes out, and I don't want to walk into Iceborne and be like, how do I fight monsters? Like I want to be like, yes,
I'm gonna have to break the rust here. So
it's just so much. Plus, I mean, I'm only enjoying it because I'm playing with Leo and I'm playing with Joe. Like I'm playing with like people who want to play it. Like I'm not really playing it alone because it's not fun alone. But like,
to build though, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Dude, that's the thing. You just play with whatever you liked in the past, or you just make something new because like we're in the late game, so we have a ton of money, or you can just like sell a bunch of monster parts and bones to just get the money you need, and you just find something you like. And there's some like crazy satisfaction to taking down these things like Behemoth, like Ancient Leshen. I was just like, oh my god, we did it. Like I don't care if I can make anything from it. I'm just like, I killed it. We did it. And like partnering up with your buddies or just randoms that are actually good and like want to help and make sure you work. Like I love that so much because we failed a few times with Ancient Leshen, and then there's a dude dressed up like Geralt from Rivia or Geralt of Rivia, and he stuck with us. He didn't like leave the group. He went back to camp and he's like, all right, let's do this again. Like there's these two guys who want to fight and I'll fight with them. And we just pulled in a fourth and we finally made it happen. It was just like very nice. Thanks, dude. Nice. Like, yeah. So I highly recommend it. And when Iceborne comes out, don't forget everybody that if you haven't picked up Monster Hunter World yet, it's on Xbox Games Pass, but it's also going to be bundled with Iceborne. So if you haven't bought it yet for $60 or $65 when it's all said and done, you'll have both the main game and the expansion together. I think that's how they're doing it, which I think is a crazy good value because that game, I put like 350 hours into this game and I still freaking love it. Like the frame rate isn't always great. If I could lock it at 60, that would be wonderful. But like, I understand there's limitations,
right? If it works better on a
PC?
Xbox, no, an Xbox One X.
I feel like I've heard it might, but I'm guessing on PC it's even better. And I'm just waiting, like, because the director for Monster Hunter World I don't think he's working as much on Iceborne or at all because he's working on some other secret projects. So that means he's probably working on Monster Hunter World 2 for the next gen consoles, which to me is like Iceborne's going to keep me sated for a long time because I forgot that this game, Monster Hunter World, came out in it was like February of 2018. So it's been like a year and a half or more. Like, I don't know. It's just, I've been playing it for a long time. Like it's so good to me. And that was our game of the year last year. And I love going back to it. And I'm excited for the Iceborne expansion, but I love fighting in that game. We fought, a tempered Baroth and a tempered Radobon in the arena just for like a warm up the other day, and it was just so much fun. It was just like, this is cool.
If I jump back in though, I want to make a new character to kind of
No, don't. Why would you make a new character? You could just make any armor. Like your character didn't get stronger. Like
if you make a new character, you're like, oh, I have to do this, all this to like remember how to to make this set, you know?
Just make a new weapon. Just make a new weapon. Why would you do that? You don't need to do that. You don't need to it's like your hunter wasn't like, oh, I skilled and spec'd my hunter incorrectly. It's like, no, you can change it at any time. Like, you don't need to.
True.
Don't do it. Don't do it. You have to watch all those cutscenes again, and they are not skippable. Even in Iceborne, they're like, can't skip the cutscenes, so you have to watch all of them.
What cutscenes?
All the cutscenes. You know, like when they show a new monster, like you have to watch that again. You have to. So don't do it unless you really want to.
Right.
Just play it. Just update it. Let's play together. It'll be fun.
All right.
Let's see. I watched Spider-Man. I'm gonna watch Spider-Man 2 and do a commentary on it. And
I've recently wanted to go back and watch Amazing and just see how horrible.
Oh, if you do that, I almost want to just be like, you should do a commentary for it.
Yeah, I haven't seen those movies in a bit. So
yeah, I don't think you should. You do what you want to do, man. I also started watching more of One Punch Man season 2. Good stuff. And I do want to leave a quick little review. I won't, unless people want me to talk about next week. Stranger Things season 3, better than season 2. No spoilers. I enjoyed it. I went through it pretty quickly. Steve Harrington is still my favorite. I wasn't born in the 80s, so it doesn't hit me with the nostalgia stuff as much. It's fine. All right, it's fine. Also, I like Jim Hopper, the guy who played Hellboy. Good stuff. Levi, you're not really into Stranger Things, so.
I was not a big fan of season 2. It was hard to get into. But I have heard good things about season 3, and there's like a big thing that happens at the end of season 3. So
yeah, I would say you should watch it. And they do Netflix does a really good job recapping that stuff. They give like a 5-minute, like, hey, this is what happened last season. Like, and you're like, oh, cool.
I feel like if I skip season 2, I wouldn't miss anything.
Yeah, like a lot of people compare it from like Alien to Aliens, where they just took like one monster and made like a ton of monsters. Like that was kind of the big thing. Yeah, I think you watch it.
Are you not watching Attack on Titans season?
I gave up after season 2. I was like checked out.
It's supposed to be like the last one, I think, or there's another one after this.
Good. Be done with it. I like the first season was so compelling, and I remember thinking like, wow, like this. It was so like hard to watch, but then I was like, I want to watch the next episode immediately. I need to know what's going on, and like it was just so unsettling. And then season 2, I was like, like I was just bored. And now that like you got Eren Yeager who can kind of transform into one. I'm like at will, like just kind of like, I don't know. I'm just kind of out. I just want more My Hero Academia. Everyone and their brother should watch My Hero Academia. Watch it right
when is that
now.
coming out?
The next season, okay, usually they come out in April, but this next season's coming out in October.
Okay.
Season 4. Watch the American dub. I'm not kidding. It's very good.
I will rewatch that show from the beginning, actually, coming out
It
here.
will make you cry. It will make you cry. And that's why I love it so much. It's so good. I love it so much. I love that show.
Still chipping away at Naruto. I'm on like episode 222 now.
Oh, wow. Of Shippuden, right? I don't remember how many episodes of Shippuden there are.
They're just starting the Great War.
So. And then they play like there's like 100 episodes of just filler weird stuff. It's like when Naruto and Hinata were children. I'm like, what? Yeah, it's weird. I love that show. Naruto's still probably my favorite of all time. Yeah. Also, I'm finishing up Frasier, getting close. Great show. The last few seasons aren't super amazing, but I don't know what happened there. They got the high def though. Like it finally fills up my whole screen now in season 10. I think it is season 10 or 9. It was one of those two. Anyway, yeah, I think that's going to about do it for the show here today. Kind of a little bit of a quicker one, but that's totally okay. Appreciate everybody watching. If you guys ever have a question or a topic for the show, all you have to do is tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast to either of us. You can tweet at GoCritical, which is our official account, or you can tweet at me personally. I'm at JimmyGood013. And this week, I want a GIF of Spider-Man villain. Peter Tingle. No, I want to give us some Spider-Man villain. I don't care which one. Just give me a Spidey villain. Levi, where can people find you on Twitter?
Don't find me on Twitter. No, just kidding.
Perfect.
I'm at Levi Fletcher.
Good. Mm-hmm. And obviously, he's not here, but Lever_627. That's Lever, just like Beaver, only with an L. Joe's not here, but that's because he didn't see Spider-Man, and he would just be like, okay, so tell me about the suit textures. Like, and we're like, all right, Joe. We miss you, Joe. You're great. But yeah, tweet Joe some Spider-Man gifts if you can too. But thank you to everybody who watches. Ryan, I know he's always tweeting at us about that, so thank you. And everybody else, I know we don't have the biggest group, but I love the community we have, and I love that people watch our show. There's so many podcasts you can listen to and watch out there, but you choose to listen to this one. I appreciate it. And if you guys ever have any suggestions or feedback on how to make the show better and bigger, besides just sharing it around with your friends, please let us know, because we'd love to talk about whatever. And we don't always have to talk about the same things. Like we had a few weeks ago, we just did like a questionnaire podcast, which was kind of fun, where we just kind of answered a bunch of questions about ourselves. But it'd be kind of fun to do a questionnaire about our Legionnaires too. That would be kind of cool. Read stuff off that way. But yeah, Levi, thank you so much for being on here. Thanks for going to see Spider-Man with me. Always fun to go see a movie with you. We don't have another Marvel movie for like a long time.
Well, there's nothing. Yeah, I mean, when is the next one even going to come out?
They don't have anything like set. So they put out some dates, right? But like at San Diego Comic-Con, they will like say like, all right, here's when Doctor Strange 2 and Black Panther 2, and I think they wanted to wait and let Endgame have its time.
When is
that? San Diego Comic-Con is in August, I think. Let's should we check it quick. I'm gonna check it real quick. I'm gonna be super speedy. Lemon squeezy. SDCC dates 2019. Oh no, July 18th. Oh, a couple of days. My bad. Okay, so a couple of days. So next week we should be able to talk about San Diego Comic-Con, which will be good. We have something to talk about. Yay. That makes next week a lot easier for me. I'm looking forward to that. And Doctor Strange 2 is for sure happening. Come on, Ghost Rider. Come on, Dormammu. Back.
I'm just hoping for that we don't get just like all sequels in one year. It'd be nice if they did like sequel, that's something else.
Maybe Eternals?
Yeah.
Maybe Fantastic Four will get that release date. That'd be crazy. If the Fantastic Four comes first, then X-Men after that, oh my goodness, man, the MCU is just it's ballooning, maybe. It's ballooning. I'm excited. Anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in. Love and hugs to all of you. And just remember to adapt and overcome. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.